There are people walking around that are full-blown love addicts, and they don't even realize it. Love addiction is not spoken about enough. Everybody on here sees creators, gardening, booger sugar, pills, and all this stuff. Nobody is talking about love addiction. When someone says, oh, I love hard, no, honey, you're a love addict. You can be addicted to a person. The same chemicals that are released in your brain when you do happy drugs, or when you eat food, or when you're scrolling on TikTok, can also happen whenever you're dealing with someone. So imagine you break up with that person, or you guys are no longer together, or if you share children with them and that person is your addiction. It can be very challenging because you are withdrawing, you're having to withdraw from this individual. People don't understand having to co-parent or hold a platonic conversation can be extremely challenging. There's people that literally walk around saying, oh, I just love real hard. I try not to jump into relationships too soon because I love hard. Like, no, sir. No, ma'am. You're a love addict. And the way that you show your romantic love for people is not healthy. These are the people that will really stand outside your window with the boombox in the rain. It's not romantic. It's giving stalker. You don't know when to let go. Putting people on blast on social media and then like them getting back together. To me, that sounds like love addiction. That doesn't sound like, oh, it's ups and downs. No, that's toxic behavior. To withdraw from a person and they can text you, or the kids that you share with them look exactly like them. Whew, that is a different type of strength. To have to co-parent while being a full-blown love addict can be challenging. And there's people that they don't even realize. Your baby mama, your baby daddy's a love addict. That's why they act like that. That's why every time you talk to them, it seems as though they're trying to get back in a relationship with you because they are indeed addicted to you. It's not funny. It can be scary if you don't have self-control. Love addiction is real.
Okay, so let's talk about the second step to heal from love addiction. So I already talked about the first step in our other TikTok, which is to identify available and unavailable relationships. If you haven't watched that one, go ahead and scroll, find it, listen to it, hear more about what that looks like. But let's talk about the second step to heal from love addiction after you do that. So love addiction, excuse me, as a quick recap, is the persistent obsession of a person, a relationship, or the fantasy of who you want that person and relationship to be, who they could potentially be, what could happen. We have so much in common. We just have to nurture it. They say that they want this too, so it's not like I'm really with someone who's unavailable. Like, this could work, right? When we continue to have those types of experiences that do not fall and do not work out in the way that we want them to, what is the second step that we can do to heal from this? So I talk about this in detail in our 5-step roadmap, which is a free download that you can download. But for right now, what you need to do after you identify who's available and unavailable, you need to detox from the people who are unavailable. Detox. So if you follow this platform for any amount of time, you've already heard me talk about detoxing in some form. You've heard me talk about doing no contact. You've heard me talk about creating distance with people, and here is why. What makes love addiction different, or a more intense version of insecure attachment and avoidant attachment styles and all the stuff that we already kind of know about when we think about how people merge. The difference when it comes to love addiction, and why I teach this as its own separate entity, is because for those of us who struggle with this, we absolutely lose all sense of ourselves. So it's past this logical willpower thing that we want to do the right thing and making a list of steps or having accountability from a friend or a loved one. Literally, our trauma, our the triggers that are kind of ingrained inside of us based on the things that we have gone through, those take over. We lose all cognitive reasoning. So no matter how much you try to make change, no matter how much you try to do boundaries, no matter how much you try to say, okay, well, we can't be together, or I'm no longer going to be codependent with them, I'm not going to give them money anymore, but I'm going to try to be their friend, we can't do that. There are some people who may be more securely attached or more further along in their journey to where they can do that. But for those of us who struggle with love addiction and we have had a lifelong pattern of completely abandoning ourselves and being taught to do that and being reinforced to do that, or we go completely numb, like it's either one or the other. Either we love hard and we love with everything, in spite of ourselves and in danger of ourselves. Again, with love addiction, again, it's not just a bad breakup. Like, we put ourselves in financial danger, we put ourselves in emotional danger, we put ourselves in physical, spiritual, sexual danger a lot of times, because we're really trying to get this person in relationship to be who we want them to be. We're really trying to get this love, and our mind and our spirit and our body, we believe that to have that love is going to fix the stuff inside of us. And even if we logically know that's not true, it doesn't stop the hope. So we do no contact and we detox because it is hard for us to get aligned and get clear on what is real and what is not real when we constantly have this source, when we constantly have this person creating chaos and distracting us and making it really, really hard to focus on ourselves, because again, it's not about a mental desire. Everyone who I've worked with who've wanted to heal from love addiction, they are committed, but it's the subconscious reflexive response that happens in love addiction that really sabotages this and gets in the way. So that is the second step. This is the hardest thing for so many people, because that's where the justifications come in at. That's when the whatabouts come in at. That's when I think that it's immature if I have to create distance, and I just want to be strong enough, not understanding that even if you don't come back around, they will come back around. And I think sometimes that's part of the game that we like to, like, it feels empowering to cut someone off and watch them crawl back, but someone crawling back doesn't mean that they're available. It just means that this is part of the foreplay. This is part of the emotional foreplay. It's part of a game. It's part of this cycle, this roller coaster that you're on. So it's more about what is it that makes it hard for me. If I truly feel like I have all agency and power over myself in a world of a billion people, billions of people, and access to all of this love and all this connection and all of these resources around me, why is it that there's this one person, this one relationship that I feel like I need to either always have access to, or they need to have access to me? You know, when I was doing the 12-step process for sex and love addiction, because I've gone through this process myself, and I created my programs and created these methods because 12 steps were wonderful, but I needed more. I needed more to help me create change. You know, but the first step in the 12-step process across whatever your thing is to admit that you're powerless. And sometimes that can be hard, and sometimes that can be hard to see, but just something for you to consider. But as I promised, this is the second step to heal from love addiction in our Healed and Love Women framework. And so I hope that you found that helpful. And if you want to learn about the rest of the 5 steps, you can download it for free, our free 5-step roadmap. And you can learn about love addiction, love avoidance, and love deprivation, along with the roadblocks to get in the way. And you can find it in the link in our bio.
Is it worth the trauma? I mean, no, probably not. But my situation, by the time I learned that my husband was struggling with substance abuse, him and I had already been together for over 10 years. We had already completely built and intertwined our lives. We had 2 children together. And so why stay with him? Because we had this life already built together. And add that with the fact that in the beginning, I was very naive and uneducated and honestly in denial for probably like the first couple of years. Like, I truly just did not think that he was an addict. After finding out that he was in this really dark place and him going to treatment for the first time, he was clean for 2 years. And I really believed during those 2 years that he would never relapse. And then it happened. And I was just like, what the fuck? And so I don't necessarily like the saying of you don't know unless you are in it, but you truly just do not know unless you are in it. It is so easy to tell others what you think they should or shouldn't do, but when it comes down to it, it's just, it's their lives and it's their relationship and it's their.
Why did I need healing when the person I was with is the one who was struggling with substances? If you're new here, my husband and I have been together for over 20 years. The first 10 years of our relationship, he was in active addiction to so many things under the sun, and in the last 10 years, he has been in recovery. I had to start my own recovery journey for my healing about 6 years into his sobriety. I was becoming extremely angry. I had anxiety, depression, lots of panic attacks, and felt like I was losing my mind. And I was wondering, where's this coming from? You know, my husband is sober. Everything should be okay. I felt like our relationship was in a decent place. But come to find out, I was finally in a safe space in my life and in my relationship and, you know, within my family, that my everything that I was holding on to for 10 years ended up coming out in ways that were very unhealthy for me. The anger was extreme. I was taking everything out on my kids. I was being mean to them. I was being mean to myself, being mean to my husband, being mean to everyone around me. And it was because I didn't know how to cope with my anger. I didn't know where the anger was coming from. I never really learned how to deal with my anger because I was with an active addiction and a person who was in active addiction since I was 14 years old. I was in survival mode for about 10 years. So, being in a toxic relationship takes its toll on the other person, not just the person who's suffering and struggling or dealing with addiction or narcissistic traits or whatever it is they're dealing with. And we become hurt and we end up taking on some of the behaviors that they put onto us because we had survival mode. It was like reactive defense. We would end up yelling. We would say, you know, we would defend ourselves. We would come out in very unhealthy ways and lash out on those who loved us the most. So I had to get help for my own anger issues and my own triggers and everything else that I was dealing with. So I went to therapy, been in it for 6 years, and now we help others. We have this lovely TikTok account and we have a free Facebook community for people struggling to help get a sense of community. We're working on courses. We have so many amazing things going on in the background because we have both been able to get out and really work on personal development and become the best version of ourselves possible. But I just want you to know that if you are in a relationship with a toxic person, that you will need some healing. You might be angry right now. You might not have any idea what you're doing, but I want to know if you've stumbled across our TikTok, you're doing something for yourself because you are searching for ways to help deal with whatever it is you're dealing with. I can almost guarantee you that the person that you're with is not doing similar things. They're probably not going down a rabbit hole of partners of alcoholics and addicts, or how do I help someone, or how do I help this toxic situation. You know, you're actually doing something for you by searching and trying to figure out and educate yourself on what's going on. And that's huge. Give yourself some kudos. Give yourself some props. That's a big deal. And pretty much understand that the other person who you are with may not be doing the same thing, and they're going to stay here while you're gradually going up here and you are learning to empower yourself.
If you were in a relationship for 5 years and you're clean and they weren't, would you leave them even though they want to quit? Well, I'll say this. The fact that they want to quit, that's a very good sign. But the rest of it depends on the strength of your relationship. So you've been together for 5 years. So obviously there's some sort of love there. There's a tight bond there. And me personally, I don't take nothing off the table because of addiction. But that's just how I view things now that I've overcome it. So it has changed a little bit. And that's because there were certain people that believed I can get to this place, get sober, and reinvent myself. And that's why the perception has changed, because I know it's possible. So I don't ever take anything off the table, even when it comes to relationships. I do believe that, you know, you can be that person for this person, and he can overcome this, she can overcome this, and you guys could be as strong as you've ever been. But that's not to say that I'm telling you to settle and wait and sacrifice your quality of life for the next person, because they're going to have to want it, and eventually they're going to have to put their want into action. That's just how life works. And I always believe in intuition. So if you think this person can overcome that and you think that you can help them, that's up to you if you think that you can move forward in that relationship. But if you have second thoughts and second guesses, then you might have to reevaluate some things. But I'll tell you this. One person that really saved my life was my brother. No matter what it was, he was that one person for me, and he stuck with me, believed in me, helped me. Not even necessarily to get sober, but he just had that belief in me. And maybe you could be that one person for this person that you're speaking about. So I don't take nothing off the table. Anything is possible, and I mean that not in a cliche way. Anything is possible. I think you guys could pull through. Ain't no question.